First one I'm going to show you is one of the segments we do for families traveling with children. The principle of the welcome show is to have a host, who is usually a famous blogger in the region, and to introduce destination and things to do around. So the first one I'm going to show you is Rafi. Rafi is a famous blogger in Australia. He's 8 years old, and he's been traveling with him all around Asia Pacific to showcase our properties and destinations through the eye of a child. So I'm going to show you the few first minutes. In the interest of time, I will cut it short.
It's my last day in Phuket and I don't want to go home, but I've had so much fun. They have the best beaches ever. But you don't even need to leave your hotel. Some resorts have insane kids' pools and water games. I even got to meet a hero of mine. I just took a boat ride with Spider-Man. That's one off my bucket list. Oh, and the most awesome pools. This pool has one of the coolest views on the whole island. Pretty awesome, right? We went to a super fun water park. Let's get wet! The water slides were epic. And no, I wasn't even the slightest bit scared. Okay, maybe just a little bit. It was super fun. I want to do it again. I met up with my food-obsessed friend Mark.
How is it?
Awesome. He found so many delicious snacks that I love. But durian? Not so much.
So that's Rafi. If you want to see his adventure, he's been to Bali, to Phuket, to Bangkok, to Hong Kong, all over the place. You can watch the YouTube channel. The next one I was talking about is the foodies. So we work with, actually, you saw just Mark a second ago. Mark is a famous blogger in Thailand. He has a famous blog. And he's hosting the series of Eat with Chef and a couple of series on F&B. So that's the second one I'm going to show you now.
Bangkok is a busy city, and sometimes I feel like I'm running against the clock. But here, it feels like time stands still. I'm at the Klong Lap Mayom floating market, and this is a floating market that's within Bangkok. And one of the things I really like about it is that it's less commercialized and it has remained more Thai. So I'm here to do some eating and some leisure strolling around. Most of Bangkok's more famous floating markets are on the outskirts of the city. This one is in the Talingshan area and around 30 minutes from the center of town. Floating market is actually quite small in comparison to the whole market because it's expanded so much, and the main part of the market is where we are right now, and you'll find all sorts of different snacks. Oh, like this snack right here, which is a traditional Thai rice cracker. This is called padman, and it is made with fish mixed with chili paste and then deep fried in little bite-sized pieces. This is one of my favorite kinds of pineapple. They're a special variety that are really small.
All right, so you get the idea. So we've got a full series of videos like that. Now, once you've got a section of the video, we have different formats depending on the different platforms that we use it for. If you go in one of our hotels, you will see on the TV channel of the hotel, you will see the full show, which is a 30-minute show. If you go on YouTube, you will see segments, which is actually this kind of segment. If you go on Facebook, you will see segments that are a lot shorter with a title, for example. And on Instagram, that will be 30-second teaser. So we adapt the different videos to the devices and to the type of customers that are watching that content. So that was for the dream phase. Now, if we look at the booking phase, and again, I'm talking for Accor Hotel, so a bigger hotel chain, we have in different platforms depending on the devices that our customers are using and the occasion of use. So obviously we've got accorhotel.com, our, let's say, department store, and then we've got our different brands.com, and then each hotel as well, most of our hotels in Asia Pacific have their own hotel website. Different use again, if you are looking into more information about F&B outlets, wedding options, meeting and events facilities, obviously you will get a lot more information on these hotel websites. All those websites are responsive design, so obviously that works properly on mobile. And then we've got our app, the Accor Hotel app, which is one of our key digital strategy for this year and I guess for the next few years. And finally, all of those systems work with a centralized system of pushing offers depending on what we know about the customer based on our CRM, but also on the information about their browsing and what they've been looking at previously. If I go now into the actual stay, which is basically our job, that's why we are all here, right? So this is engaging the guests when they are in-house. We work with a company, Sydney-based company, which is called Local Measure, and we did a research with them, and the research showed that guests that are engaged during their stay are 44% more likely to come back. So what does this mean? Local Measure is a company that crawls pictures based on GPS location. When people take pictures in your properties, actually only 20% of them put hashtag or keyword that will allow you to find out that those pictures have been taken in your hotel. Local Measure is actually crawling live those pictures based on GPS location. So you will give them the GPS location of your hotel, you build a radius around that, and you will get live on your phone all the pictures that are being taken right now, which means that you know what's happening. So what we use that for? We use that for different purposes. First, if something wrong happened, you know, never happened, but when it does, you know it's live. And you don't know it only when it's on TripAdvisor and it's too late. So you can fix things. But the majority of the pictures we get are positive, right? People that want to share great events, just to show how wonderful their life is. So what we do with that, it gives us context of their stay, and it gives us the ability to engage with them and to surprise and delight. So when we know that there is a honeymoon happening or there is a birthday happening, then we are able to act on it. It's also a good way to spot influencers. You will know immediately that someone that has more than 50,000, say 100,000 followers, is actually in your hotel taking pictures. That's a way for you to interact with that person and then get exposure on their follower base. So I give you a couple of examples here. That's kind of example for the last few weeks, months. Here is an example of engagement online. So example here, someone at Sofitel Wellington took pictures of the flower arrangement in the lobby, post that on, obviously we see that immediately, and the Sofitel Wellington is able to interact with that person on Instagram, thank for the pictures. The step further is to say, well, I like the shot, do you allow me to use that shot to put on my Facebook or to put on my website? Another example here is that it gives you context of the stay. So typically here, that's an example at the Sofitel Seoul Bangkok, where thanks to the picture, that couple was taking picture during their whole stay and basically telling us that it was the birthday of the boyfriend. And the restaurant organized a cake and song, and this came up on the Instagram. We were able to surface that and to engage again, as you can see on the Instagram account. An example of influencer, this one, 5,000 followers on Instagram, were able to engage with that person, and basically what it means is when you engage as the hotel on her Instagram account, you've got the exposure of these 5,000 followers. Finally, another example of birthday. So again, as I was saying, it gives you context. Here you're able again to surprise and delight, and also that creates a story for that person to tell and share again. So it's kind of a cycle of sharing. Finally, talking about sharing, the last point is about reviews and feedback that we were talking about earlier. I guess that's very important to be able to consolidate those data, but also to make sense of them. Because it's great to have got all those different reviews and feedback, but if you cannot not act on them, it's pretty useless. So That's one of the tools that we use with semantic analysis. But what I wanted to show you in terms of customization is, if you look at TripAdvisor, for example, if you look at the top hotel, well, that's a top hotel that the crowd like, but I may not be like the crowd, and I may not like that hotel. So what you want to do is to see what the people say, the people that are closer to what you are. So to give you an example, if I'm traveling with my family, I may have different liking and requests than if I'm traveling for business or if I'm traveling with my husband, for example. So there is a way with reviews to customize the data and the scoring to see what those different type of travelers said about your hotel. So this is an example on accorhotel.com for each of our hotel fact sheet. You are able to see the reviews for each hotel, but also to filter by type of customers so that you can see what the different type of people are saying about the hotel. That's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Emily. Very good. So I'm Charles Dio from Sendine. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm in from the U.S. I love this city. In fact, I may move here now that Donald Trump has been elected. That's assuming you guys don't build a wall, not let me in. So, but seriously, I was really excited to present here with Emily today. I was thinking about it. Let's see if I remember this right. Yin Yang. Yin is dark, Yang is bright. So Emily is the bright side of the presentation. She got to show you all the videos and the creative stuff, the inspirational stuff. What I want to show you is kind of the dark side. It can be very difficult to make all this work, and takes to make it easy, you need to have good software, good technology. All right, so what I thought I'd do is reference some of the customer journey icons that Emily was referencing. So if you remember, in her customer journey, she talked about the dream, choose, and book as three of the stages. So the interesting thing is when you're in the dream stage, you're actually planning that vacation. And you're actually many studies have come out to show that you'll hit up to 38 different travel sites before making a purchase. So, I mean, think about that. Think about all that data that is sitting out there that's being created by those customers as they're going through and they're making those, hitting all those travel sites, whether it's a hotel website, whether it's a review site, whether it's a, TripAdvisor looking at activities, what you can actually do at the destination. That's a lot of data that's sitting out there in data silos. And if you have the right type of technology, you can actually track that data and you can find those people when they're in market relative to their ability as they move through the booking funnel and actually potentially book a room. But before you can get there, though, the difficulty we've got in the hospitality industry is that we've always been an industry where we've got all these data silos. And data silos is what the challenge is with our industry relative to actually getting to what we refer to as a single point of truth, a real understanding of that customer. So if you look here at this graphic, I mean, we've got, all of us have a property management system, but I mean, even if it's a first-time customer at your property, you've got a reservation now in the property management system. We should be able to bring in the social data automatically. We should already have the opportunity of any CRES information that's part of that reservation. If it's somebody that's stayed with us before, we should have a guest profile already established that has loyalty. Their survey information should be consumed into this profile in a way that you can get it transformed into a robust guest profile. So take, for example, you start to transform that data into guest history, to values, status, behavior, preferences, interest, intent, engagement, the opportunity to append data, third-party data, demographic, psychographic data, continues to enhance that profile in a way where it's very meaningful. And if you do that in the right way, you actually start to be able to build audience clusters. So when Emily was talking about how personalization is important through this whole customer journey, you can't really personalize the messaging and the engagement in a meaningful way unless you have the segmentation variables for this enhanced guest profile, where you can build these audience clusters and build out these personas that are meaningful and resonate to that future guest or that past guest that has stayed at your property. So let's look at some of those examples. So let's say at this point, we've got all the integration done. It brings all those data silos together into one database. We transformed that data into meaningful guest profile data. And now none of that is meaningful unless we can action that data. So let's look at some examples specifically of how you could action that data within the customer journey. I'm going to put the customer journey into 3 buckets: pre-arrival, on property, and post-stay, just to give you different examples of this. So pre-arrival, of course, is they've already booked a room. They haven't actually arrived at the property. And I mean, these are some minor examples of things that you should be doing as part of that pre-arrival bucket. And some examples we put up here were personalized confirmation email, maybe the weather, about their stay, looking at room upgrades and the value of that customer, what they booked, what an upgrade path might look like, preferences, activities that may be on property when they're there, actually personalize the email, change the email based on the fact that you understand their lifestyle preferences. I think one of the speakers today talked about changing the lifestyle image that actually increase the click-through rate on a marketing email. What would that be? What would that look like on a transactional email? Some other examples we didn't even put on here, it's like service recovery. I'm consuming all that survey data now. So what if I, on the pre-arrival basis, actually action the fact that the previous stay for this guest was below their expectations? So now that I could trigger a message to the VIP manager, the guest service manager, the general manager, so I can ensure that that stay is perfect when they arrive. And then what about the customer personalizing their own stay and providing that self-reporting data? So if you had a solution like we do at Syndine, where they can actually go in and actually plan that perfect stay ahead of their arrival. So they might plan out what restaurants they're going to eat in. They might plan to have a massage or use the spa during their stay and actually create that whole perfect itinerary before they arrive. It was interesting. We implemented what we call eConcierge, which is our pre-stay scheduling solution with a worldwide brand, 600 hotels, and they actually did some studies that showed that their cancellation rates went down by 10% because customers, once they were invested into a future arrival opportunity, they weren't going to actually make a change to another hotel because there was a $5 difference in rate. They were already committed at that point. And you think about that, you think about all these engagement points. What we're trying to do through this whole customer journey is cultivate that customer relationship at each opportunity. Because think about what happens every time you engage the customer. And engagement, let's make sure we're defining engagement the same way. Engagement could be an email, could be a display ad, could be a phone call, could be a check-in at the desk, a check-out, a personal interaction. Your guest profile should be able to action that data through any of those opportunities. Because one of 3 things happens every time you engage your customer. The relationship either gets better, it stays the same, or it gets worse. So what if every engagement with your customer, the relationship got better? The title for today's session was about how do you drive engagement and profitability. How much more profitable would you be? What would your return rates be if every engagement with your customer was actually made the relationship better? So here's some examples of actually personalizing in this case, a confirmation. We like personalizing the confirmation because It actually is an email and a message in this case where typically the customer doesn't put in the junk mail, doesn't delete it. They recognize they want to keep all their stay details, so we like putting in the personalized information in here. So in this case, you got an example of the experiences they scheduled, travel details, personalized letter signed by the general manager. On property, once again, I think it's very popular now to do service recovery. So, you know, opportunities to get information back from the customer if they're not having the stay they expected. And once again, all that data, even when you're doing those service recovery emails, gets back into your system so that you can action that data in a meaningful way. Food and beverage offers on property. Let's say I have a private yoga instructor that's on property that week, and in my database I see that I have 15 guests that have a spa preference because either A, they booked a spa in the past, or B, they requested a spa in the past, or C, I appended some third-party data that told me that they had a spa preference, and that's all part of that profile. And I sent out a message, could be an SMS message, could be an app message, could be an email that actually tells them there's a private yoga instructor in-house. I mean, that would really resonate with me if I had an interest in that type of activity. So engage at check-in. Part of our solution actually allows you to write a rules-based engine to actually bring in information on how you want that front desk clerk to engage that customer at check-in. And it's all based on this enhanced guest profile. So that's very powerful. Take your VIPs, for example. We typically recommend to our clients that you trigger a VIP report that puts their picture on the report, all the information that's needed, expectations, past experience at the hotel, value of that customer, what persona or cluster that they exist in. And if you have a VIP manager on property, then that can be triggered automatically the day before or the morning of, so you can get that experience ready for that individual. These are all important opportunities, and one of the things that I think is important and that I've always lived by, and you know, I'm up here talking really about how technology and software can enable, you know, some of the cool stuff that Emily was talking about. And I'm really big on the fact that I hate when technology should never limit great marketing ideas. And as long as you consume all the information possible about your guests, put it into one database, and if every segmentation variable in that database is actionable, you will never have a situation where you cannot support any idea that you want to execute that you think is meaningful to the engagement of that guest. Here's some examples. You know, this activity. In this case, this was a foodie preference, obviously in the database. So there were some things going on in Fontainebleau that some invitations went out. Here was a reminder, because we bring in all the social media data in. All that social media data is actionable in the database. We know who's on social media, we know what networks they're on, so we can invite them based on those preferences to action in ways that's going to promote advocacy, which is another important element that we have to pay attention to in hospitality these days. And there's an endless number of these ideas. These are just some quick examples. And then, of course, PostA. PostA is probably one of the most important, because if we've done everything right at the property, then certainly we want them to be loyal to our brand, advocate our brand, and then, of course, most importantly, rebook in the future so that we're driving additional revenue. So I won't go through all these examples, but everything from birthdays, anniversaries, need periods, the great thing about also having all this data in one database is the ability to really predict. Somebody today, I think it was Jeanette, was talking about predictive models and being able to build predictive models that actually action opportunities and offers, invitations to come back and stay at the property. So the other thing that I think is important when we talk about actioning the data, data has to be actioned in a way where we're sending the right message to the right customer at the right time. And then I'm going to add a fourth one, because we've all heard those first three a lot, using the right channel. So there was all the speakers today were amazing, and they were all saying similar things to what we're talking to you about today from a different perspective. But the reality is that we've got to get more personal. We've got to resonate better with our guests, and we've got to create opportunities that action information in a way that's going to be easy for us to do. So, like when we look at PostA with our clients, we actually build out all these trigger campaigns. So I call them little money machines. So we know through our modeling how we can predict when somebody should be in a mode to be in market for travel, and we build those trigger machines out, so those money machines out where it just keeps generating potential bookings as we go forward. The other thing, because our platform is integrated CRM and data-driven digital marketing, we don't even have to build the predictor models. If they're in market, we know it from our data partners. And how do we know that? We know it because they might be on one of the airline system websites where they're actually checking airfare to a destination where you have a property. Well, we know that. Now we put that person in market so we can start marketing to them. And now we're marketing to them though on a personalized basis, right? If let's say we're marketing to them via a display, we're going to give them a display ad that's meaningful to that particular audience because we know they're in market for travel. So you start thinking of the power of this and how now we're managing all our engagement points, we're managing all the information into one silo that gives us the opportunity to drive not only continuous improvement, but an enhanced guest experience and a better overall profitability for the property. Thank you.
Right, so I've got a couple of questions for the two of them. We can't let them off that easy. So I'm going to try and do that very quickly, and obviously if you've got any questions, just feel free to ask them. So I'm going to start with Emilie. Emilie, you talked about the whole, obviously both of you talked about the customer journey, but you were talking about engaging consumers whilst they were on property. And the examples you shared where you responded to a few posts that customers were putting up on their social media feeds. Have you experimented with proactively engaging customers during their stay as opposed to waiting for them to post? And if you've done that, how do you go about doing that? How do you sort of track what they're doing, when they're doing, and what is the right time to engage these individuals?
What we find is the key touch point is the welcome, right, when they arrive. So especially we've got a program which is called online check-in, so that allows you to check in online to get all the paperwork done before you arrive, so that when you arrive, everything is prepared, the key is prepared, and the only thing that the staff has to do is basically to welcome you and to have a bit of a chat and see what you are up to. So this is where you first gather the information first and why you're here, what you're expecting during the stay, and then you get that first-hand information. Some other hotels are actually proactively checking on social media platforms and see for LinkedIn, for example, or on Facebook for whatever is public, on Instagram, what those people are about, and trying to customize the stay based on those public information. Now you need to be a bit subtle about it so that it doesn't look creepy, right?
Yep.
And this is why I think it's also very important to get that first conversation to see what the person is like and what is the mood and what is the occasion of stay, because you may very quickly fall into a trap where you're over the top.
Fair point. Once they're on property, so Charles, this is for you. Have you seen examples of hotels that have engaged consumers with real-time offers once people are on property based on their actions or behaviors? And how do you sort of set that up? Do you have a trigger mechanism in the system, or are you just manually watching for all of this stuff on whether it's a social media feed or whatever else?
Well, I don't have a name for it like online chicken, but yeah. But no, we do. We have clients that have good examples of that. Like the yoga instruction was an example I pulled from Trump as an example in Las Vegas, and we set it up to where it would trigger an SMS message to that guest if they had a spa preference because there was a private yoga instructor in house that week. And so if you think about the fact that we could action any of the data in the database, then you could think about any preference that aligned with any service opportunity could be communicated through whatever channel made sense to that individual at check-in, a day after check-in, 4 hours after check-in. It doesn't matter. It just needs to be set up one time, and then it happens automatically.
Okay.
And then the other thing you can do too with a solution like ours, and I'm trying to be careful not to make this a send-on advertisement, but if you have a solution like ours, then you could also prompt the widget at check-in to actually, it scans the PMS, goes through, pings the CRM, runs it through a rules-based engine, says, oh wait, you've got a spa preference. At check-in, remind Mr. Smith that there's a private yoga instruction in-house that week if you'd like to get it scheduled. So there's a lot of different ways you can engage that information back to your guests.
Thanks. Emilie, this one's for you. Charles, in his presentation, talked about personas. And when I was looking through or reading that stuff on the slides as well, we're basically suggesting that the market segments that we've traditionally used, whether it's direct or wholesale leisure business or what a group business or whatever it is, you kind of need to get away from that because each customer is an individual and we treat them that way. But you got to create, you're suggesting about creating personas, you use customer value, you use their behaviors. Have you at Accor started sort of looking at that, and how do you guys see your market segmentation? How do you see it evolving? And how do you implement something like personas? Because it can be quite complicated, because you've got different markets, different channels, different types of individuals. Where do you draw that line?
So we've been reviewing completely our segmentation. What we're doing right now is what we call customer cards. That's basically the customer profile of every single client. I guess you have one segment for each client. What we're looking at, obviously we've got all the information about their previous stays, where they've been, the key preferences, but what we're integrating into those customer profiles now is their feedback, what they like, what they didn't like, and also their social profiles, so that we kind of create a complete customer card that you can act on during the stay at the check-in, but also in our outlets. So basically, we're not really going with personas is more here for the videos I was showing, but when it comes to one-to-one interaction, it's really every single person is different. And I would say it's even worse than that. It's even if you've got a customer card, then my customer card is unique, let's say, but I might be different this morning to what I will be tomorrow, right? So yesterday I arrived at Superbed, and I had my laptop on, my phone here, and I was ready to go to a meeting. So when Couton welcomed me, she said, okay, straight to the room, here is the key, you know the drill, you don't need anything, yes, good. But on Friday night, when I check in at Sofitel Musadua, I may have time for a glass of wine and get a chat there at the restaurant and everything like that. So it's not only about segmentation, it's what the location of the stay and movement of the stay. So it's even more complex.
Yeah, and I'd like to add one thing to that is that when you talk about segmentation, clustering, personas, you got to remember that they're really virtual. So a customer could be in many different personas based on when they're traveling, why they're traveling, what their expectation is for travel. I mean, if I'm taking a leisure vacation in the summer with my family and I have an objective for health and wellness, then that's a completely different persona than I might when I'm on a business trip or something else. And then the other thing I would mention is that, when you talk about what the difference is between segmentation and personas, you got to remember that personas is really looking at the psychographic, the emotional, the self-reported information that really gives you a sense of how you're resonating with that particular individual. And segmentation is still important. It's important how we cluster customers together and potentially action them for objectives like brand objectives. Here's a perfect example. I might have a cluster set up that basically says, I want to know whenever there's a first-time customer that has used my brand, and then I want to trigger a campaign that's basically a retention campaign. It has a storyboard of how I'm going to message that individual to potentially either join my loyalty program or get more familiar with my brand and the opportunities to stay at other properties that may be part of the portfolio.